Grandma chokes at 68 when her son-in-law's surprise gift becomes too much to handle. Eleanor stood at the center of her living room, surrounded by the bright splash of colorful balloons and the smell of freshly baked cookies. Her laughter rang out as she played charades with her grandkids, every move exaggerated, every guess met with roars of delight. A grandmother at 68, she radiated a vibrant energy that left her friends envious and her family thankful. Independence was her superpower, and she wore it like her favorite necklace, bold and sparkling. But that evening was destined to change the playful rhythm of her life. On the surface, the surprise was generous. David, her son-in-law, whirled into the room, a shiny new gadget cradled in his hands. "Look what I got for you, Eleanor!" he announced, his voice bubbling with enthusiasm. The sleek device shimmered under the soft light, a smart home assistant combined with a personal security system. "It'll keep you safe and connected," he beamed. But as he shoved it into her hands, Eleanor's heart raced, a flush rising to her cheeks. Suddenly, the room felt too small, the laughter too loud. Innocent chatter turned into a clamor. "Am I really that helpless?" she thought, gripping the device tightly. It felt invasive, intrusive even. Memories flashed, her independence, her cherished solitude, the bubble of her life that she had fought so hard to nurture. At first, she tried to mask her discomfort. The kids tugged at her to showcase its features. "Alexa, play Grandma's favorite song." But with each command given to the gadget, her skin prickled with unease. At dinner, the device glowed quietly, a lurking shadow at the corner of her eye. Secrets whispered within weren't just about convenient answers. It had the power to observe, to know, and, she feared, to control. The laughter faded like a distant memory that night. Everyone left, and a heavy silence settled around her. She felt stifled, like the walls were closing in. Late into the night, Eleanor sat at the table, swirling a cup of chamomile tea and staring at the gadget that had stolen her. With a shaky hand, she turned it on, hoping to find comfort within its glowing interface. But instead, there it was, a hidden message flashing on the screen. It read, "Monitor family discussions." Panic surged in her chest as more words materialized, hints of long-buried secrets and glaring accusations. Suddenly, the warmth of her family felt like a thin layer of ice, ready to crack at any moment. She felt the weight of betrayal pressing down. How could David do this? Breathing heavy, Eleanor knew she stood at a turning point. Could she confront David without destroying everything? What secrets lurked beneath her family's picture-perfect facade? Was this gadget a gift, or had it become the chains binding? Reminding her of fragility in the face of intertwined lives? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Eleanor sat frozen, the glow of the smart device illuminating the night like a beacon and a haunting reminder. Panic coursed through her veins as she skimmed the screen, her hands trembling. Monitor family discussions? The words echoed, repeating in her mind like a siren. Just then, there was a heavy knock at the door, startling her from the spiraling thoughts. Who could it be at this hour? She hesitated, the shadows of her doubts deepening as she rose to answer. "Eleanor, it's me, David." His voice broke the thick silence. She opened the door, her heart collapsing at the sight of his anxious face. The tension hung in the air like a storm cloud. "Can we talk?" he asked, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "What are you doing here?" she shot back, words rushing out like the dam had broken. "You surprised me with that thing. I don't understand why you think I need it." David shifted, his eyes darting to the gadget on the table. "I thought it would help you. I thought it was what you needed." His voice softened, but his demeanor was tense. As they exchanged words, neither noticed the slip of time nor the mounting weight of unspoken truths. But Eleanor felt like she was spiraling, trapped in a whirlpool of confusion and hurt. Then a sudden shriek pierced the air, a sound that sent chills rushing down her spine. "What was that?" Eleanor turned, her heart racing as she rushed to the window. Outside, she saw lights flashing in the distance. Red, blue, like a terrible heartbeat. "Don't!" David yelled, grabbing her arm, but she was already moving. Their small suburban street was lined with police cars, sirens blaring. People gathered on the sidewalks, faces pale and concerned. Panic flooded her. "Is someone hurt?" As she leaned closer to see, David's grip tightened. "We shouldn't get involved, Eleanor. It's probably just a mistake." His eyes looked desperate, almost fearful. But his reaction nagged at her. Why did he seem so on edge? Something was wrong. She jerked away from him and stepped outside, the cool night air hitting her like a splash of cold water. The crowd murmured, a tide of concerns flowing through the cluster of neighbors. Then she heard it. They found a body. The words crashed into her like an unexpected wave, a shuddering silence settling on the crowd. Whose body?" Eleanor found herself asking, her voice barely a whisper. A young woman, Rita from next door, shook her head, wide-eyed. "It's Marissa, David's sister." Shock gripped Eleanor. David's sister? The world felt surreal as she staggered back, her heart racing. Her eyes darted to David, whose face was a mix of horror and something else, something unidentifiable. He was pale, but his expression seemed to flicker like a dying flame. "Marissa?" she whispered, barely able to comprehend the reality tumbling her way. David stepped back, breathing heavily. "Eleanor, I didn't know." His facade of bravado vanished, revealing anguish. "I swear I didn't know." But doubt thrummed in Eleanor's chest, twisting with each beat. What had David hidden from her? Was the smart gadget just a cover for more than just safety? Just as questions swirled, an officer approached the gathering, his voice steady but commanding. "We need to know who was last in contact with Marissa." Eleanor's heart plummeted. Would David speak? Would he reveal the truth? Or was it more than she realized? A deadly domino set in motion long before the night began. "David," she began. But before she could finish, his expression transformed, darkening into something she had never seen. Was it fear? Guilt? "Stay back, Eleanor," he warned, the tension in his voice fraying. And in that moment, every hint of their shared life, every cherished smile, began to unravel. What was really happening? The space between them filled with unspoken secrets, and her independence felt like a distant echo. What had she stumbled upon? And would the truth shatter everything she held dear? Eleanor stood there, still reeling from the revelation. David's words hung between them, heavy and uncertain. The flickering lights outside, the soft murmurs of the gathered neighbors, all blurred into white noise. She felt her heart race, fear clawing at her insides. "What do you mean you didn't know?" she managed to whisper, staring at David's ashen face. "This isn't the time, Eleanor," he snapped, his voice breaking the stillness. But the urgency in his tone only heightened her anxiety. The police officer's announcement echoed in her mind. Someone was dead. Someone close to David. And she immediately felt the distance growing like a chasm between them. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air, shrill and awful. It shattered the fragile moment, drawing every eye to the swirling chaos of flashing lights. What was that? Eleanor turned toward the sound, her breath catching in her throat. Then she saw it. A figure, hooded and dark, darting from behind a house. Crossed the street. Slot of movement through the throng, slipping away like a shadow in the night. "Hey!" the officer shouted, sprinting after the silhouette. The crowd gasped, a wave of disbelief washing over them. "Who was that?" Eleanor's heart raced, her skin prickling. David's eyes widened, a flicker of worry crossing his face. "It's—" But before he could finish, the world jolted. A loud bang erupted, a sound that didn't belong to anything ordinary. It felt like the ground and sky had split open. Gasps turned to shouts, screams of terror swirling around her. David shoved Eleanor back. "Get inside, now!" "David, wait!" But he didn't listen. He pulled her toward the house, urgency etched into his features. And as they stumbled inside, a second explosion rocked the street. The windows rattled violently, and Eleanor's pulse thundered in her ears. "What's happening?" she shouted, panic flooding her senses. David grabbed her shoulders, breathless. "Listen to me. We have to hide. This isn't just about Marissa." "What do you mean?" she gasped, but she could feel the icy grip of fear tightening around her. It wasn't just the chaos outside. It was him. His shadows held secrets darker than she had ever known. David's eyes were wild, darting between the door and her face. "Just trust me." He was a different man now, stripped of bravado, a raw, shattered version of himself. She caught the scent of sweat and fear mingling in the air. Loud voices drowned out her thoughts. The officer shouted orders outside, a sound that crackled with authority and urgency. "Stay back! We have a situation!" The growl of distant sirens merged with the chaos. Eleanor felt the walls close in, a suffocating weight of impending doom. "David, what's happening? You need to tell me." Her voice trembled as she tried to pierce through the haze of panic. "I can't." He sank against the wall, staring at the ground. "I messed up. I shouldn't have brought that damn device into your life." His revelation shattered her. "What do you mean? Is it linked to this?" Everything was spiraling, every question turning like knives in her gut. The smart device, the secrets it might hold. You knew something, didn't you? Suddenly, the room felt alive with tension, the air thick and electric. David looked up. "They're after me, Eleanor. It's all connected. I couldn't tell you. You wouldn't understand." His desperation painted a clear picture of terror. A loud crash interrupted her thoughts, the front door splintering as figures rushed inside. Dark uniforms filled the room like a storm. shoving David down. "Hands on the ground! Now!" Eleanor staggered back, heart pounding, disbelief coursing through her veins. "What have you done?" she screamed, her world tilting on its axis. David's face paled, the emotion across his features spiraling from fear to something darker. Don't trust them. It was too late. The shadows of their lives loomed larger than ever. And as she struggled to comprehend the weight of his warning, every truth she'd taken for granted began to unravel. Would she be able to reclaim her independence? Or had everything she loved already slipped away? Eleanor stood there, still reeling from the revelation. David's face was a canvas of turmoil, a storm brewing in his eyes. The officers crowded the room like dark clouds, their presence thickening the tension. She felt a suffocating weight pressing down on her chest. Everything she'd known was collapsing. Then a hand shot up from the back of the room. "Wait!" A voice sliced through the chaos, sharp and clear. It was Rita, the woman from next door, standing in the doorway, breathless but fierce. "You can't take him! Not without hearing the truth!" Eleanor blinked, stunned. What truth? David's eyes darted to Rita, fear flashing across his face. "No! You shouldn't be here!" he shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Rita stepped forward, ignoring the officer who was trying to wave her back. "Eleanor, you need to know. There's so much more going on than you realize." "What do you mean?" Eleanor asked, her voice trembling. Darkness swirled around her, threatening to swallow her whole. But something about Rita's urgency sparked a flicker of hope. "Marissa didn't just die, Eleanor. It was planned." Rita's eyes locked onto Eleanor's, a desperate plea in her gaze. "She was about to expose something big, something dangerous." David bristled, bad memories etched in his expression, and Eleanor felt the ground beneath her ripple. "What?" she gasped, her heart pounding. "What are you talking about? What could she possibly know?" Rita took a deep breath, glancing at the officers before continuing. "Marissa found something about a group that's been targeting your neighborhood. They've been watching us for weeks. David is involved." The words hit Eleanor like a punch. "Involved?" Her throat felt raw. "In what?" Before Rita could answer, a loud crash echoed from the street. The front window shattered, scattering glass across the floor. Everyone froze, shock rippling through the room. David's face turned ghostly pale. "We need to go," he hissed, suddenly alert. But it was too late. The outline of a figure appeared through the jagged opening. A hooded silhouette, glinting silver where the moonlight met metal. A scream erupted from the crowd. "Get down!" an officer shouted, scrambling toward the threat. Eleanor's heart raced. "David, what's happening?" "It's them!" he shouted, grabbing her hand. "We have to leave. Now!" Eleanor felt a mixture of dread and adrenaline as David pulled her toward the back door. The sound of heavy footsteps came closer, interspersed with shouts of confusion from the street. Then, at that very moment, the figure yanked off its hood, revealing a familiar face, Marissa's. But it wasn't the lifeless, pale visage she imagined. It was alive, eyes blazing with a mix of defiance and relief. "Eleanor, help me!" she screamed, the urgency palpable, her voice breaking through the din. Eleanor choked on her confusion. "Marissa, you're alive?" David's grip on her hand tightened painfully, panic now threading through him like a tremor. "No, this can't be happening." He tugged harder, trying to lead Eleanor away. But something deep inside her shifted. Marissa stood defiantly in the doorway, glancing over her shoulder, as if already feeling the rush of danger. Eleanor, listen. They're here, and they won't stop until they get what they want. We need to figure this out together. Eleanor's mind raced, heart in turmoil. Could she trust Marissa? Was it truly her? The air buzzed with tension, swirling possibilities that felt like electric shocks. The truth was less tangible than ever, fragmented in pieces, just beyond her grasp. Eleanor, please! Marissa's eyes were wild, brimming with urgency. Don't leave with him. David's not who you think he is. Eleanor staggered back, every word slicing through the fog of betrayal. She glanced between Marissa and David, her pulse quickening with uncertainty. What do you mean? She whispered, the weight of revelation crashing down around her. And just like that, the world spun. Would she stand with the woman she thought was dead? Or trust the man she thought she knew? Everything she held dear trembled on the brink of destruction, and the shadows closed in around her like a suffocating embrace. What secrets lingered in the dark? What choices lay ahead? The night stretched out, alive with uncertainty as Eleanor's heart raced, wondering if maybe she was the one in danger all along. Eleanor stood there, her heart racing as she tried to make sense of the chaos around her. Marissa? Alive? The realization flickered like a dying light. She fought back disbelief, torn between David's urgent insistence and the sudden reappearance of a woman presumed dead. What is happening? She whispered, trembling. David's eyes widened in panic, darting between Eleanor and the hooded figure. Eleanor, we need to go, now! But Marissa stepped forward, voice steady, despite the storm all around them. David is lying. You have to believe me. A thunderous bang jolted the air, cutting her off. The front door burst open, and in strode a tall figure, his face obscured by shadows. Cold dread washed over Eleanor as the room chilled, the air thick with unspoken fear. It felt like the moment just before a storm. Where is she? The figure growled, voice low and dangerous, eyes glinting under the faint light. He scanned the room, landing on David. You promised. David flinched as if struck. I didn't know she'd come back. I had no idea. But that realization slammed into Eleanor like a brick. What are you talking about? She gasped, her pulse pounding in her ears. She turned to Marissa, whose expression was a blend of determination and terror. I'm here to stop this, Eleanor. David is mixed up in something dark, more than you ever knew. As she spoke, the figure advanced closer, an electric charge in the air. Keep your mouth shut, Marissa. You don't understand the consequences. David's voice cracked, revealing more about his fear than he intended. But before she could respond, the man lunged forward, snatching the device from the table. This is what they want, he barked, brandishing it like a weapon. The lights flickered ominously. As he held it high, Eleanor's heart sank. What do you mean, they? She cried, feeling the shards of her reality splintering. But then his grip tightened. A flick of his wrist, and without warning, the gadget lit up, glowing with a fierce intensity. Its screen flashed erratically, illuminating the faces in the dim light. In an instant, Eleanor froze. Images began to shift on the screen. Faces, places, familiar territories, strangers morphing into acquaintances. And then her breath caught when she recognized her own name among the flashing text. Project Vigilance, Subject, Eleanor Hughes. Surveillance enabled. What? She gasped, heart hammering in her chest. The shadows around her seemed to pulse with a life of their own, creeping closer and closer. David's expression twisted in horror. No, you're not supposed to see this. Marissa stepped forward, fear replaced with fierce resolution. This isn't just about Marissa or David. This is bigger, much bigger. The figure turned his piercing gaze toward Eleanor. You're in danger, whether you know it or not. They've been watching you, waiting for the right moment to strike. A gasp went through the crowd, eyes wide with shock. Strike? Someone whispered from the back, disbelief mingling with fear. Eleanor trembled. Why? What have I done? Then the unexpected happened. David, backed into a corner, finally broke. I never wanted this for you. I just wanted to protect you. It was all a mistake. His voice cracked, revealing layers of hidden grief. You don't understand what they can do, what they're capable of. Who? Eleanor cried out, desperation clawing. Who's they? Suddenly the figure advanced again, his finger hovering over the device. You want to know the truth? The truth is that everyone you've ever loved has been a part of this. Your entire life is a lie. The walls felt like they were closing in. Eleanor felt the shock pierce through her. Each word was a knife. Each revelation, a layer pulled away, exposing the raw flesh beneath. Everyone? She echoed, confusion spiraling into dread. She met David's eyes, searching for something, anything, to dismantle this new horror. Suddenly, it clicked. The way he'd always known too much. The guarded conversations, the secrets always hidden just out of reach. Just as fear settled like concrete on her chest, the gadget exploded in a surge of light, filling the room with blinding brilliance. Eleanor shielded her eyes, heart pounding. When the light faded, Marissa lay on the floor, unconscious. The figure had vanished. David stood by the door, trembling. Dread settled in his features. Eleanor, he said, his voice barely a whisper. You need to make a choice. Now. Had he orchestrated this entire nightmare? The tension hung thick in the air, electric with uncertainty, as fear washed over her once again. In that moment, Eleanor knew nothing would ever be the same. And everything she thought she understood was shattered into pieces. Eleanor stood there, shock still rippling through her as David's face twisted in fear. The glow of the destroyed gadget shimmering in the dim light. Its remnants scattered across the floor, like shrapnel from an explosion. Marissa lay unconscious, and the breathless silence felt like a lead weight in the room. What do we do? Eleanor's words trembled, confusion swirling in her chest. Eleanor, just trust me, David shouted, his panic drawing her attention back to him. She could see how he was shaking, glancing nervously toward the chaos brewing outside. The faint sound of chaos and shouting drawn closer with every second. Eleanor wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at her insides. What's really going on? She whispered, her heart racing. Then she caught a flicker of hesitation in David's eyes, a crack in the facade that sent a jolt of fear coursing through her. Before she could press him further, a thunderous roar echoed from outside. The windows rattled as a black SUV screeched to a halt in front of the house. sirens wailing like a banshee. "They're here," David spat. Panic etched across his face. Eleanor didn't have time to process. David rushed her toward the back door. "We have to go!" But they were met with another surprise. The doorway filled with figures in dark uniforms, creeping like shadows. Officers and agents swarmed in, blocking their escape. "Put your hands where we can see them," one officer barked, his gaze locked onto David. "Don't you dare! Get away from him!" Eleanor shouted, stepping between David and the menacing agents. But something flickered in the corner of her eye, the glow from the light remnants of the shattered gadget. It activated again, revealing suddenly uncertainty and chaos on its screen. "Connection lost," it flashed, spiraling into static. And in that moment, the world tilted again. The figure standing next to one of the agents, a man dressed in a sharp suit stepped forward, eyes piercing. "That's it!" he exclaimed, voice firm, seemingly gleeful. "We've finally tracked it down." "What?" Everyone froze, caught off guard. The revelation slithered into Eleanor's mind. This wasn't just about Marissa. Not just a family secret blown wide open. "Sir, are you sure?" another agent asked, hesitating. "Absolutely!" The man stepped beyond the chaos, eyeing the device as if it were a treasure. "We've been hunting for that for years." Eleanor's heart sank. She sensed a deeply unsettling moment on the horizon, a dark reveal that threatened to break her world. "Hunting for what?" The agent's face broke into a smile. Too sharp, too cruel. "It's not just a device, you see. It's so much more. It's a key to something we can finally control." Before Eleanor could digest the words, a loud bang echoed from the SUV. The back door flew open, and out stepped a teenager, disheveled hair and wild eyes. "I told you not to come here!" he yelled, darting toward them. David's expression shifted instantly. "You! What are you doing here?" The boy locked eyes with Eleanor. "You have to listen. He's not who you think." David stepped toward the boy, eyes ablaze with fury. "Shut up! You have no idea what's at stake." "What do you mean?" Eleanor's voice quavered, a lump forming in her throat. Everything spun. Out of control. Then the boy spoke again. "I'm your son." The world felt as if it had stopped. Eleanor's breath caught in her chest, shock washing over her. "What?" Panic surged in David's face, but the boy pressed on, urgency in his voice. "It's the truth, Mom. You have to believe me. They're using you, all of us. Marissa knew I was coming back." "No, you're lying," David shouted, desperation clutching at his throat. But Eleanor felt the ground beneath her crack. The echoes of the past enveloped her, pulling every thread of her reality tighter and tighter. It felt like the very foundation of her life was tethering on chaos and secrets far darker than she ever could have fathomed. What relationship had been built on lies? As uncertainty lingered and chaos erupted around them, one question shattered the silence. Who could she trust when everything she thought she knew began to turn to dust? Eleanor stood there, heart racing, as the boy's words hung in the air like smoke from a fire. "I'm your son." It felt like the world had tilted on its axis. Her breath caught in her throat, disbelief clouding her mind. How could he be her son? She had no idea. Not a single clue. David's face was a portrait of panic, eyes wide as he grasped for something, anything to regain control. "This is ridiculous," he shouted, glancing nervously at the agents closing in. "You're lying." The room buzzed with tension. The officer shifted uneasily, caught in the swell of chaos that enveloped them. "What's going on?" one demanded, voice sharp and authoritative. Eleanor turned to the boy, her mind racing. "What are you talking about? If you're my son, where have you been?" Tears threatened to spill, mixing with confusion and anger. "This is all a setup." The boy looked around frantically. "They're here to take you both. You have to listen." She knew too much about the project, about everything. He gestured to Marissa, lying unconscious on the floor. "I thought I was too late." At that moment, a loud crash echoed from outside, pulling everyone's attention toward the chaotic scene outside. The crowd gasped as a group of armed men stormed toward the house, faces covered, weapons at the ready. "Get down!" an officer yelled, diving for cover. David grabbed Eleanor's arm, eyes wild. "We need to go!" "No!" Eleanor screamed, pulling free. "What do you know? What project?" Every nerve in her body tingled with fear and anger. The boy spoke quickly, his voice urgent. "They're monitoring you, watching everything you do." The gadget was a trap, a way to get close. Marissa discovered something. They wanted to erase her, and now they want you too. Eleanor's heart thundered. This wasn't a simple family drama. This was something far more sinister. The chaos outside grew. The armed men shouting orders, urgency rippling through the crowd like a wave. David stepped closer, trying to shield her. "You don't know what you're getting into. Just come with me." But there was no control over her pounding heart. "You're the one who got us into this mess." The truth began to claw its way to the surface. And then everything exploded. A blinding light flooded the room as the device sparked again, hitting the walls with an electrifying pulse that made everything tremble. The boy's voice cut through the chaos. "No, you can't!" Hit the floor, pain stabbing through her wrist. The noise drowned out everything, screams mixing with chaos as the walls shook. When the dust settled, Eleanor opened her eyes. A thick haze engulfed the room, disorienting and blurry. Shouts echoed outside, but something felt different, a shift in the air. And there he was, standing at the center of the wreckage, a figure she recognized more than anyone else. Her father. But he looked completely different. The anguish in his eyes was unmistakable, but there was something beyond that, something haunting. "Eleanor," he breathed, voice trembling. "Incredible," the suited agent murmured, slipping closer with a predatory grace. "The keys are finally aligning." Eleanor's mind reeled. What was happening? Why was he here? She had thought he was gone forever, buried in the past. Now he stood before her, pulling strings she had no idea existed. "Dad?" she whispered, hope bursting through her confusion. Was he really alive? His eyes darted toward David. "We need to get out of here. It's not what you think, Eleanor. You can't trust him." Every heartbeat echoed as she processed the weight of the moment. Could she trust her father, the figure who had faded into memory, or David, who she thought she knew? What was the truth? Why had it taken this long to understand? And outside, chaos continued to unfold, the armed men creeping closer. The time was running out, and every choice felt monumental. Who would she follow, the past or the present? "Eleanor, please!" David's voice broke through the turmoil, but her eyes were on her father, searching for answers in a lingering haze. She was torn, every second a lifetime as she faced the unknown. Would searching for the truth rip everything apart, or would it lead to freedom? Eleanor stood there, her heart pounding, caught between the chaotic scene unfolding in front of her and the whirlwind of emotions churning inside. David's panic, her father's sudden reappearance, and the boy claiming to be her son collided like fireworks in her mind. Eleanor, her father's voice broke through the noise, but there was something off about it. Something that made her pause. The urgency in his tone, the way he shifted his weight, it all hinted at deeper layers. "Why were you gone?" she asked, her voice a mix of desperation and defiance. Her eyes searched his, seeking answers in the storm brewing within her chest. "Why didn't you come back for me?" Before he could respond, a deafening sound echoed from the SUV outside. A shockwave of fear rippled through the air, rattling the windows, making her jump. This was no longer just a family crisis. This was looming danger. Suddenly the boy yelled, "We have to move! They're coming!" But Eleanor couldn't keep her eyes off her father, feeling the weight of their past sitting heavy on her shoulders. "Are you really back, after all these years?" "Yes, but—" "Enough!" David's voice cut through the chaos. His eyes were wide, showing a mixture of fear and anger. "We need to get out, now!" Eleanor hesitated. Should she trust David, after everything that had happened? Then, to her utter shock, her father interrupted. "Eleanor, listen. David has been lying to you. He's not who you think he is." Time froze. "What?" she breathed. She turned to David, searching for a hint that he was innocent. "Is that true?" "Of course not!" He stepped forward, desperation evident in every line of his face. "My only concern is keeping you safe." But Eleanor shook her head. "You said you didn't know anything. What did you get us into?" As the tensions escalated, flashes of blue and red drew closer, illuminating the room. Officers shouted orders outside, chaos escalating rapidly. Then a movement caught Eleanor's eye. A figure flashed in and out of the shadows, darting closer. "Who's that?" she whispered, pointing. Suddenly, before anyone could react, the figure burst through the back door. It was a woman, breathless and wild-eyed, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Get down!" she shouted, lunging toward Eleanor. In a breathtaking moment, the woman collided into her, knocking her sideways. A gun went off, the sound deafening. David shouted, stumbling as the woman grabbed something shiny from her pocket. "Eleanor, run!" she cried, just as a blinding flash erupted, light exploding from the object in her hand. Eleanor's heart raced. The woman held a device, similar yet different from the one that had caused all this turmoil. Then it hit her. The woman was Marissa. "You are alive!" Eleanor gasped, confusion crashing over her. "How is this possible?" But the chaos erupted anew. Sirens blared, and the armed men outside shouted. In that moment, the truth crashed down. Like thunder. Marissa wasn't just surviving. She was thriving, with a purpose unknown to Eleanor. "I'm here to stop this!" Marissa yelled, voice a battle cry. "We don't have much time." Eleanor felt every muscle in her body tense. All the pieces she'd been desperately trying to fit together now spun wildly. David wasn't just lying. He was in deep. But Marissa? She was back to fight. Then a shocking twist unfolded before their eyes. The device in Marissa's hand wasn't a weapon. It emitted a pulse, and in that split second, everything changed. Her father wasn't just a father. He was part of the team that had wanted to erase Marissa. He was the reason Marissa had been silent all these years. With that realization, trust shattered like glass. The alliances she thought were solid fractured into dust, and Eleanor felt the ground shift beneath her. "Eleanor! Don't listen! They're using you!" her father yelled, panic flashing in his eyes. And just like that, the truth became a twisted knot, trapping Eleanor in its grip. Who was the real enemy? Who could she trust in the storm swirling around her? Every heartbeat echoed desperation as shadows took form and relationships began to unravel. As she stood in the eye of the storm, the reality hit her. The fight was just beginning. Would she join Marissa in this chaotic battle for truth? Or would she stand with David, not fully understanding the darkness lurking behind his eyes? The question hung heavy in the air as smoke curled around them, blurring the lines of loyalty, trust shifting like quicksand. And Eleanor felt it, the undeniable pull toward the unknown, urging her to step forward into danger. What awaited her on the other side? Eleanor stood, her heart pounding. The chaos around her blurred into a whirlwind of voices, confusion, and violence. Marissa's fierce determination sparked something inside her, even as David's frantic pleas clawed at her mind. "Get out! Trust me!" echoing like thunder in the storm of her thoughts. "I'm not leaving until I get answers," she shouted back, feeling raw and alive. Suddenly, a heavy footstep. Crunched glass underfoot, drawing every gaze. A newcomer pushed through the swath of chaos, a tall figure cloaked in a long trench coat. The shining silver edge of a badge peeking from the coat caught Eleanor's eye. A federal agent. A pair of dark sunglasses masked a stern expression. "Where's the source?" he demanded, voice booming over the clamor. "Source?" David shot back. "What source?" Then the agent turned, pointing a sharp finger at Eleanor. "You, miss. You're the target." Eleanor's breath caught. Why was she the target? What was happening? The 5 seconds of silence that followed were the loudest of her life as the words sank in. She felt the world tilting, the realization crashing over her like a tidal wave. Suddenly, the figure in the trench coat pulled back the collar and revealed an unmistakable face. Eleanor's heart dropped. "Kevin?" she gasped, breath escaping her lungs. "Kevin?" David blinked. "You have to be kidding me!" Eleanor took a step back, confusion blurring her vision. Kevin, her former partner. The one who disappeared under mysterious circumstances years ago, leaving her heartbroken and lost. But he looked different now, hardened, like he'd stepped straight out of a spy movie. "I'm here to protect you," he said, his eyes darting to Marissa, then to David. "You're in danger, all of you. But Eleanor, you're the key. They want you." Marissa straightened, shaking off the remnants of shock. "Kevin, we don't have time for games. What do you mean, I'm the key?" A look of brotherly concern crawled over Kevin's face. "Let me explain later," he insisted. "We need to get out before they realize I'm back." "Back?" Eleanor's brow furrowed. "Back from where?" Before he could answer, a blast rattled the walls. The armed men outside were breaking through, shouts blending into a furious din. Eleanor's heart raced. Everything felt like a nightmare unraveling too fast to escape. "Listen to me!" Kevin's voice rose above the chaos. "You don't just have to escape. You have to understand why they're after you." But just as the words left his lips, the unthinkable happened. A deafening crash echoed and through the entrance stormed 3 agents bearing scars of battle, focused eyes set on Kevin. "We've got you now," one of them yelled, pointing towards him. "Run!" Kevin shouted, launching himself towards the incoming agents. Eleanor instinctively followed his lead, heart racing, adrenaline surging. But before she could grasp the situation, Kevin twisted, and in the blink of an eye, he pulled a gun from his coat, aiming it directly at David. "Kevin, wait!" Eleanor screamed, horror swirling in her gut. "Don't!" The room seemed to freeze. David's face twisted in shock. "You can't! You're one of us!" But in an instant, Kevin's eyes darkened, filled with a fierce resolve. "No! They've played you all. Of you, I'm the one trying to save her." Eleanor felt a jolt snap through her. The room spun, revelations crashing down. Kevin had betrayed her once before. Was he really trying to protect her, or was this just another layer of deceit? The gun trembled in his hands, while shadows loomed large. "Who's using who?" she murmured, bewildered. "Am I just a pawn?" A series of blaring sirens screamed from outside, marching closer. And right in that moment, as the smoke began to clear, all she could think was, who could she truly trust when everything they fought for might be a lie? It was just the beginning. The answers and the dangers were lurking closer than ever before. Would the truth shatter them all? The gun trembled in Kevin's hands, the weight of uncertainty heavy in the air. "You don't understand!" he shouted, desperation creeping in. "They plan to use Eleanor for something much darker. This isn't just a family affair." Tension crackled like static between them. David's expression twisted into confusion before a flicker of rage ignited. "You think it's okay to point a gun at me? What the hell is going on?" "Stay calm," Marissa yelled, fear mingling with determination. The chaos outside narrowed down to their small enclave of reality. "We're all in danger. We have to work together." Eleanor felt her heart pound. Trust was teetering on a fragile line, and every beat echoed a decision that could shatter everything. "Kevin, what do you know? With the project and the groups hunting you, Eleanor, they're trying to control the very fabric of our lives." He turned toward the agents behind him. "You have no idea what they've been planning." Kevin interjected, edging closer as the sound of sirens intensified. "We can't fight against them, not like this." But Eleanor wasn't listening anymore. Something deep inside shifted, igniting a spark of rebellion. "We need to take a stand," she declared, looking at Marissa, then at Kevin. "I'll confront them. I have to find out the truth." Just as those words left her lips, the chaos surged back. Loud banging at the front door rattled against the walls, reverberating with the urgency they all felt. "No more time," Kevin shouted. "Follow me." Frantic, Eleanor nodded, sensing the urgency of the moment. "We'll figure this out together. I refuse to be a pawn, and I won't let anyone take me down without a fight." Together, they darted through the back entrance, adrenaline propelling them forward. The adrenaline surged as they sprinted, breaths quickening with each moment of their escape. The air tasted metallic, alive with danger. They wove through a maze of chaos, shadows closing in around them. Outside, flashes of lights and shouts mingled with the pounding rain, turning the world into a surreal brawl. And just beyond, armed figures lurked, waiting, ready to strike. "That way," Marissa pointed, leading them toward a side alley tucked away from the electric chaos. Stumbling into the darkness, they paused for a breath. "We need a plan," Eleanor gasped, shaking with a mix of emotions: fear, determination, anger. Kevin held her gaze. "We can expose them. With the right evidence, we can turn the tide." "Together," Marissa added, her voice steady. This is a fight we can win. Eleanor's heart swelled despite the chaos. Let's do it, for Marissa, for all of us. As they re-entered the fray, clarity forged their bond. They would expose the truth behind the lies, confront the darkness head-on, and reclaim their lives. Hours later, after what felt like a lifetime of confrontations and revelations, they had plunged into the heart of the conspiracy, tearing it apart with the unwavering resolve that now bound them together. The adrenaline of that first escape had morphed into a fierce alliance of trust, each of them bearing the weight of their pasts while stepping into the light of a new path. Eleanor looked at her new family, feeling the energy of hope radiate from them. We did it. We really did it. Tears blurred her vision. But they were not tears of sadness or fear. They were tears of courage, of resilience. It was a fresh start. With the storm clearing and the dawn breaking over the horizon, Eleanor felt the warmth of a new beginning. Let's build something together, something stronger, she said confidently. And as they turned, leaving the dark past behind, they stepped into the future crafted by their own fearless hands. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this.